The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of pine needles and damp earth. Sunlight painted the forest floor in shifting patterns of light and shadow. Towering pines stood sentinel over winding trails. Beneath the tranquil facade, a darkness lurked, an unsettling silence broken by the rustle of leaves and the distant cry of a crow. The forest held its breath, a silent observer to the tragedy about to unfold. Here, in this unsettling paradise, Sarah Jones would vanish without a trace. Sarah Jones lived a life splashed with vibrant colors, her spirit as bright and bold as her art. She found solace in nature, seeking inspiration in the forest. Her hikes connected her to the world's raw beauty. She'd lose herself in birdsong, the whisper of the wind, and the crunch of leaves.
I love how nature speaks through its beauty. Every hike is a new adventure.
She was a free spirit, her laughter echoing through the woods. She saw beauty in the smallest details. Her art reflected her deep connection to nature. The sun was already beginning its descent when Sarah set off on what was supposed to be a routine hike. She'd parked her car at the familiar trailhead, the fading light casting long shadows across the woodland path. Her backpack filled with her sketchbook, a worn copy of her favorite poetry, and a thermos of tea rested comfortably on her shoulders. With a deep breath of fresh air, she smiled, anticipating the tranquility that awaited her. Hours passed and the forest grew quiet, the last rays of sunlight fading into twilight. But Sarah didn't return. Her car remained untouched, her phone and purse still inside, as if frozen in time. The only sign that something was amiss was a single chilling clue, a blood-stained rock lying on the path, a silent testament to a violence that had shattered the forest's peace. Detective Miller, a man hardened by years on the force but with a heart still capable of empathy, arrived at the scene as darkness enveloped the woods. He surveyed the area, his eyes missing nothing. The undisturbed car, the blood-stained rock, the growing silence of the forest. Each detail etched itself into his mind, forming a grim puzzle he was tasked with solving.
The weight of this responsibility, it's heavy. A life hangs in the balance and every second counts.
The forest, once a place of tranquility, now felt oppressive, its beauty tainted by the spectre of violence. Miller, a man who had witnessed the darkest corners of humanity, couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the heart of something sinister. He vowed to find Sarah, to bring her home, and to ensure that whoever was responsible for her disappearance would face justice. He owed it to her family, and to the sanctity of the forest itself. Section 5, Days Turn to Weeks. The forest holds its breath. Days bled into weeks, and the search for Sarah Jones became a frantic race against time. Search parties combed the dense undergrowth, their calls of her name echoing through the silent trees. Sniffer dogs strained at their leashes, their noses pressed to the damp earth, desperately searching for any trace of her scent. The forest, once a place of solace and inspiration, had transformed into a labyrinth of fear and uncertainty.
The weight of each passing day pressed down on me, the lack of answers fueling my determination. The forest, once a place of peace, now felt like an accomplice to Sarah's disappearance, its secrets buried deep beneath layers of fallen leaves and tangled undergrowth. I spent countless hours studying maps, interviewing potential witnesses, chasing down every lead, no matter how insignificant it seemed. The forest held its breath, its silence a heavy shroud, but I refused to give up hope. I would find Sarah. I had to.
Section 6, Whispers in the Wind. A name surfaces. The investigation seemed to hit dead end after dead end, frustration mounting with each passing day. Then a break came from an unexpected source, a hushed whisper, a name spoken in fear and reluctance. Thomas, a respected member of the community, a familiar face at the local farmers' market, a man known for his quiet demeanor and love for the outdoors, became the focus of Detective Miller's attention. The accusation seemed impossible at first. Thomas, a man who always had a kind word and a helping hand, a man who embodied the spirit of their small town, couldn't possibly be involved in something so horrific. But as Miller delved deeper, a darker picture began to emerge. Discrepancies in his alibi, a history of anger management issues kept carefully hidden from public view, and a chilling familiarity with the section of the forest where Sarah disappeared all pointed towards a truth too terrible to ignore. Section 7. Unmasking Evil, a community in shock. The news of Thomas's arrest ripped through the community like a wildfire, leaving shock and disbelief in its wake. The friendly face that had once graced their town gatherings was now plastered across newspapers and television screens. His name synonymous with a crime so heinous it defied comprehension. The very foundation of their peaceful existence seemed to crumble, replaced by a chilling realization. Evil could lurk in the most unexpected places, hiding beneath a veneer of normalcy.
The once familiar woods, a source of comfort and recreation, now seemed sinister, their beauty forever tainted by the shadow of Sarah's disappearance. Fear and suspicion replaced the camaraderie that had once bound the community together. Neighbors looked at each other with uncertainty, their trust shattered, their sense of security irrevocably broken. Section 8. In the Court of Law, the Weight of Evidence. The trial of Thomas was a media spectacle, the courtroom packed with journalists, curious onlookers, and heartbroken members of both Sarah's family and the community she'd left behind.
The prosecution presented a meticulous case, weaving together forensic evidence, witness testimonies, and a chilling account of Thomas's increasingly erratic behavior in the weeks leading up to Sarah's disappearance.
The defense, however, argued that the evidence was circumstantial, painting a picture of a man wrongly accused, a scapegoat for a crime he didn't commit.
They pointed to his clean record, his contributions to the community, and the lack of a clear motive. The courtroom became a battleground of truth and deception, with each side vying to control the narrative, the weight of justice hanging heavy in the air. Section 9. Justice served a bittersweet victory. After weeks of intense proceedings, the jury reached a verdict guilty. A collective gasp filled the courtroom, a mixture of relief and sorrow washing over those who had waited patiently for justice to be served. The judge, his face etched with the gravity of the case, sentenced Thomas to a life behind bars, a punishment that, while severe, could never truly compensate for the life that had been taken, the potential that had been extinguished. For Sarah's loved ones, the verdict brought a bittersweet sense of closure. While nothing could bring her back, the knowledge that her killer would be held accountable for his actions offered a sliver of solace. The community, too, breathed a collective sigh of relief, the shadow of fear and uncertainty that had hung over them for so long finally beginning to lift. Justice, though slow and arduous, had prevailed. Section 10. Scars on the Landscape, the Forest Remembers. In the aftermath of the trial, the forest slowly began to heal, its natural rhythms reclaiming the spaces where fear and uncertainty had taken root. The trails, once deserted, saw the cautious return of hikers, their footsteps a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. But the memory of Sarah Jones lingered, a somber reminder of the darkness that had pierced the tranquility of their beloved woods. The blood-stained rock, a chilling relic of that fateful day, was removed, replaced by a simple wooden bench dedicated to Sarah's memory. It became a place of quiet reflection, a reminder that even in the face of unimaginable tragedy, beauty and peace could eventually return. The forest, forever marked by the events that had transpired, stood as a silent guardian, its trees, whispering tales of loss, resilience, and the enduring power of hope. Section 11. The shadow remains, a reminder in the stillness. Years have passed since the trial of Thomas, who shattered the peace of a small town. The forest has reclaimed its serenity, a testament to nature's enduring power. But the shadow of Sarah Jones's disappearance lingers, a reminder that darkness can prevail. We must remain vigilant and never become complacent in the face of evil.